Hi, I'm James and this is my take on reality. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Muhammad and Yve. Specifically, we'll address the old age adage which Maya Angelou says, the quote, "When someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time." Now, I think that there is a necessary part of this that has to be included in this quotation. You have to be able to trust what you're seeing and then trust yourself that you know that they will be who they are. So you have to trust them to be who they are, and then you have to trust yourself that you can recognize them when you see them. Now, a way in which you can get to that point where you can actually start recognizing people for who they are is first you have to start being honest with yourself. By being honest with yourself and being brutally honest with yourself, it allows you and gives you the freedom to be brutally honest with other people. Now, when this happens, it opens the door for you to be able to recognize people for who they are as opposed to what you want them to be. That's kind of what you see in this Yve situation when she deals with Muhammad. Yve is in a situation where she's so desperate for a family that she's allowing what she wants to be interpreted as, oh, this is what Muhammad believes. This is the kind of guy Muhammad is. Muhammad is a nice guy. Muhammad is a family man. Muhammad is excited about our love and helping me with Theron and helping me with my job. Muhammad is excited about none of that. What Muhammad is excited about is coming to America, getting his green card, going back to Egypt, getting his family, bringing them here, and starting his life without Yve and without her son Theron. And that's the truth. You have to be honest with yourself so you can see the people for who they are. So that way, when they reveal who they are, you can believe them the first time. Now, I mentioned earlier that Yve is desperate for a family. And in that desperation, people who take advantage of other people can smell desperation on other people like sharks can smell blood and water. They can smell it from a mile off. And they will be attracted to you from a mile off. How does this situation affect Yve? How does this situation affect Theron? How does this situation affect Muhammad? Muhammad obviously wants something from Yve. He wants Yve to provide him a green card. Yve desperately wants to have a man in her life, desperately wants to get married, desperately wants to have that father figure who's involved with Theron, is about Theron, her son, so badly that she's willing to interpret anything Muhammad does and ignore all the red flags and signs that Muhammad is putting forward. Anytime somebody says to you directly, "I'm here on a K-1 visa, but you can be replaced. I gave up a lot in my country by coming here. My family, my friends, my job, my career. I gave up all that stuff, but if it doesn't work out with you, I'm going to stay here by getting another sponsor." If it was so important, you're giving up so much to be here, when you say forget another sponsor, if it's not going to work out, this relationship isn't going to work out between us, then I'm ready to go home because the reason I'm here is because of us. That's not what Muhammad is saying. And she has to start listening to what he's saying. Stop trying to interpret what he's saying as the most polite and generous way that you can give him credit, and start listening to what he's saying to you, because he's giving you all the hints. In 5 years, or most likely right after his green card comes in the mail and all of a sudden he decides to leave, you can't look surprised and say, "I didn't see this coming, I don't know where this is coming from." He's been telling you who he is and what he wants from the beginning. People don't turn into jerks or assholes at the very last minute. They were always that way. It's just that you might have missed it, or you didn't see it, or you weren't paying attention to the signs. But in most cases, when you talk to your friends, what they say is, "I knew that he was like that," or "I knew she was like that because they told me and I should have been paying attention because there was this time that." They tell you an exact description or example of the time they should have listened to themselves. One of the most clever things that a lot of manipulators do is that they'll be doing something wrong or they'll be doing something inappropriate, and somehow the thing that they're doing wrong, they put on you. So in this case, Muhammad says about Eve, oh, she's being selfish. Oh, sometimes people are so selfish. Where there is example after example after example of Muhammad actually being the selfish one in this relationship. He comes in from Egypt. He wants to get a bidet. She goes out of her way after paying for him to come, paying for the plane ticket, paying for the visa, paying for the stay, paying for everything for him to come here because she loves him and this is something she wants to do for not only herself but for him. He says, well, you should have made sure I had everything I wanted by making sure my bidet was set up. And when she says, okay, well, I don't know how to do that, he said, don't worry, you'll figure it out. Then when she comes up with a solution and she tries to figure it out and comes up with a plan to figure it out, she gets yelled at because all of a sudden he wants to be the one that's doing the plan. Man, you could have did the plan. You could have set up, I'm sure she would have gave him the money. He could have called the plumber to come in and take care of the bidet himself, but he chose not to do that. She was going to do it, but then when she does it, all of a sudden, she's being selfish and she's not following the rules. He talks about one of the other key things, her being selfish. If my kid isn't going to be Muslim, I don't want a kid. I think that basically he said that he thought Eve was a bad mom. Eve, your whole personality definition, your whole character, the way you hold yourself out is that you're a mom and that you're a good mom and that you are the one who was there for your son and all this stuff. And he's stripping that identity away from you because you're not a Muslim or you're not the faith that he wants you to be. The idea that everything that he wants you to do. You want a wedding? I don't want a wedding. I want to get married now. I want a car. I want to be able to go back to Egypt. How are you going to go back to Egypt even if you got your green card right away? You can't get your green card until you get your work card. You can't work until you get your green card. You get your green card, then all of a sudden, in order for you to go back to Egypt, Eve is going to have to pay for you to go. But he doesn't care about that. One of the crazy things when you deal with somebody who's selfish, a lot of times they're so obsessed with themselves that there's no room for you in their world. Meaning that they're so engrossed with everything that they have going on, there's no room for you. There's no consideration for you. In Eve's situation with Muhammad, that's a perfect example of how there's no room for Eve in Muhammad's world. Everything is about Muhammad. Everything serves Muhammad. Eve's there for Muhammad. Theron's there for Muhammad. His mom is there for Muhammad. Everybody's there for Muhammad, but nobody is there for Eve. And Eve is going to fall victim of this whole scheme if she doesn't wake up and start seeing the situation that's right in front of her. This is almost another slow-moving Danielle situation. Danielle and another Muhammad from another 90-Day Fiance scenario. I just want to send a video of the Muhammad-Danielle relationship to Eve so she can see her Muhammad is the exact same guy, basically. One of the things that you have to watch anytime that you get in an argument with some of these people is how they fight. How they fight indicates a lot about who they are. Now, you're going to have disagreements with your loved one. You're going to have disagreement with your significant other. That's almost guaranteed. Unless, of course, one of you is not being real. If you 100% agree all the time with the people that you're with, then you have to be very careful about the people you're with because somebody is being fake. You are going to have disagreements, but it's how you conduct those disagreements. How do you fight? Do you fight in a way in which everybody can maintain and retain their dignity? Or do you fight in a way that it's all no holds barred, everything is on the table, I can say what I want about you, I can talk about your mama, I can cuss you out, and I can do all these things, and everything is fine. In this case, we're watching Muhammad say to Eve, every time he has a disagreement with her, hey, I can get on a plane. Hey, I can get you. I can replace you. I don't need you. I can go find somebody else who can do a better job than you when it comes to anything with you. Oh, you brought me here. One of the things that annoys the hell out of me is that Muhammad does a manipulation tactic where he will basically have a discussion with Eve and say something. And based on the fact that he expressed his opinion, whether she agreed with it or not, the simple fact that he says it means that she agrees with everything he said. So he's how many times have we watched them have a discussion or argument or a conversation in which he says, Oh, I never. Oh, what are you talking about? And he says, I told you and you agreed that you would marry me right away, as an example. I never said I was going to marry you as soon as you got off the bus. Playing, yes, you did. Yes, you did. There's nothing in me to think that she agreed to marry him right off the rip as soon as he got off the plane. There's no reason in the world why she would do that. Especially being as though she's so excited about having a big wedding. She's so excited about the transition of marrying the guy that she thinks is the love of her life and walking down the aisle with him. Now all of a sudden, she doesn't want to marry him. She doesn't want to have this special thing. That makes no sense. 100% that's a conversation that he might have said that he didn't care, but I guarantee you, she never agreed that she was just going to marry him coming off the plane. How do you fight the fact that you threaten to leave? If somebody's threatening to leave you, let them go. If they threaten to leave you every time you guys get in a disagreement, let them go. They're doing you a favor. Sometimes, in order for you to receive that blessing later down the line, for you to get the person that you're actually supposed to be with, the nut or the lunatic or the loser that you're with has to get out of the way. You don't hold on to losers. Why don't you hold on to losers, lunatics, and nut jobs? Because at the end of the day, when you meet the person that you're supposed to meet, and it's the person that you're supposed to spend your time with and your life with, if you waste your time with these lunatics, then when you meet that special person and they're a good person, they're not going to want to be involved with you because you're already in a relationship. If I was a single man and I met a woman who was involved in a relationship and I hold myself out to be a good guy, I can't date a woman who's married or a woman who's engaged or a woman who has a boyfriend at home, no matter how well we get along. Because the second I start doing that, then I'm no longer a good guy. So in order for me to maintain being a good guy, I have to let her finish her business, and then you hit me up when you're done your business. The problem that you run into is, if I recognize that you're going to cheat, if you're going to cheat with me, then most likely you're going to cheat on me. Anytime somebody talks about they can replace you, if I can be replaced easily, then I don't want to be with you. Then you need to go replace me. Because at that point, if everybody's special, nobody's special. If anybody can take your place, then you hold no value to the person that you're with. If Yve can be easily replaced by some amorphous person who's a sponsor that's just out there, and he's going to take over the sponsorship from Yve so that he can get his green cards and papers, then he's leaving Yve. It's clear that that's what he plans on doing. Here's another hint. The person that he plans on being his sponsor is his friend from the mosque. That's the person who he's actually asking to be his sponsor. Because if you watch how he did it, he said, as far as I know, somebody could be my sponsor. Somebody could be my sponsor, buddy. Who do you think that could be? The friend said, do you have a sponsor? Do you have somebody in mind? No. He's looking at you. He's expecting you to say, yeah, I'll be your sponsor, buddy. The problem I have with the whole Yve Muhammad situation is that Yve is the friend who is involved in a horrible relationship, and no matter how many times you tell her that she's in a bad relationship, she doesn't listen to you. No matter how many times she comes to you and tells you how messed up Muhammad is and how badly he treats her, she still doesn't leave him. She still stays with him. And then you say, well, why don't you just go? Why don't you pack your bags and go? Because I love him. And he promised he would change. And he's not the man that I fell in love with. Maybe the man that you fell in love with doesn't exist. Because the man that you have living in your house right now is selfish. When you deal with somebody who's selfish, they will always do things that benefit them. As long as you're benefiting a selfish person, they got all the time in the world for you. But the second you need them to do something for you, or something is going to benefit you, or they have to do something and sacrifice so that you can be happy, all of a sudden, that's no bueno. They can't deal with that. And they have to let you go. Be honest with yourself so you can be honest with other people, so you can recognize when you're dealing with somebody who just isn't worth the time. And then in that case, you can believe them the first time they tell you who they are. That's my take. My name is James.
And I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.